Welcome to Art and Imagination with Janna. So glad to see you. Remember that anything that you can imagine, you can draw and paint. Hello, welcome back to the studio. So glad to have you. Today we're going to learn some watercolor. I know you probably haven't got your watercolor stuff all in together on your table because I didn't tell you last time that we were going to do watercolor, but I decided we would start the watercolor course today. So as you can see, there's a winter scene here that I have done in the past, and I want you to draw it also. So they'll show a picture of it in just a minute. But I wanted to go through, there it is. So this is the winter scene of a watercolor, and you can see how easy this is going to be. And you can draw this with your pencil and everything, and so you will have the picture. And then, if you don't have a watercolor set, there's always this kids program set here. So you can get one of these. Don't use the brush though, because you want some nice brushes. So invest in some nice brushes such as I've got here. And this is what I'm going to probably be using today. This is a real watercolor brush, which is, you can tell the difference because it's all fluffy on the end. And these others are kind of liners and fill-ins for some of this stuff. This brush will take care of that and the sky. I usually have a mop with me, but I don't have it. And for a palette, if you don't get the already watercolor set and you want individual tubes, then this is what your palette is going to look like. It's such a masterpiece. And I also have 2 cups of water down here, one for rinsing my brush with the paint in it, and one for clear water for when I want to put clear water on my tablet here. And I usually have a bottle of water that I carry with me if I'm going to do watercolors. I also have the spritzer bottle that I have already spritzered my palette with water, and I use the same watercolors until they're all gone, and I use this middle part for mixing my colors. And so therefore, that's all the equipment that you need other than your pencil. Now what I'm going to do in the beginning is I'm going to make this horizon line here across the picture here. So I don't want it just right in the middle, so I'm going to put it down just a little bit lower than the middle and just make a straight line going across there as straight as you can possibly do. And that's all I need to do with my pencil. Now I'm going to take my clear water here, and we're going to do the sky first. So I'm not going to wet everything. I'm just going to wet it in places, because we want to put some clouds in there, and we also want to put some different colors in there. Now I go into my blue here and get enough blue, and I want a lot of water in it at first because I want it just kind of light. So wherever this water is on my page, I don't know if you can see it if it's dark enough, but I'm going to put a sky in there, scribbling, kind of scribbling, and leave some white spots. You know, in the watercolor world, if you're doing it professionally, the more white you can leave on your picture, the better off it is, and that's how you're judged on how much white you've left. So I want a nice sky in there. So that it's, you know, kind of fading away. And if I got too many dark spots in there, Then I take some more water, clear water, and just kind of pat it in there. I just really don't want some hard lines in it. Okay, that looks pretty good. But I'm going to take some blue, mix it in here, and I'm going to take some purple. I'm going to add some purple into it because I want my I want my sky a little bit darker in one place, and I have to choose which side I want it. Darker. Because remember, this is a winter scene, so it's going to be a little bit darker in spots, those clouds and everything. So we'll get it all set here pretty quick. And this thing will come together so fast you're going to be surprised at what all you can do. And I'll put a little bit of dark spot in the center there. And notice that I'm holding my brush back here on the end because I like to use my fingers. My fingers are part of my magic that I do with my brush. And so we're getting down here close to the horizon. So therefore, we'll clean the brush now. Now, I've got water down here in the bottom part of that, so we're going to continue on with the blue and let that upper part kind of dry a little bit because I do have it really wet. And I'm going to put purple in that water down here because I don't want it the same as the sky. And I'm going to bring it up because we're going to put a little island in there. And this is fun. I just squiggle away, and I know it's going to be okay. Because I have the picture now. If you have another picture in mind, or that if go outside and take a picture of your landscape there, and take a picture of it, and then kind of, you don't have to draw it, just kind of take it from what you can see. Now, I've got to look that little island, and it's brown, so I'm going to go into my browns, and I kind of want it a little fadey too. And I forgot my brush, or my paper towel here. So I'm going to go in there around that horizon line and follow it all the way to the other side. I hope you're enjoying this as I am. I'm just going to fade it in there. Bring it down. Leave some white in that brown too, because you want some highlights in that. And as you're painting, you're putting the highlights in that landmass. So you don't have to. I very rarely use white in my watercolors. Okay, I like that. So I'm going across. Now I'm going to kind of go up and make my little hill there, or it's really actually not a hill, it's trees. So I'm not going to put as much water in my brush as I'm going along here. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start making little things that look like bushes. And I'm just tapping. And I want it to fade out like it's doing. And don't make it all the same because you don't want it like it's turtles in a row. You want it to kind of be on its own. Some skinny, some fat. Works really well. And I got a lot of water right there in that spot, so that'll be really fadey in there. So as I'm going across, I just make it up as I go. You can't make a mistake, that's for sure. And you just kind of close that in a little bit along there. Fade it back down in. You don't want any hard lines in there. So I don't know if you can see. There you go. Now I'm going to kind of make some foreground shrubs while I let that dry a little bit. And if you have a hair dryer at home, if you're doing this and you want to speed that up a little bit, then you can get a hair dryer on this thing. And it works really well. Now it's going to be darker shrubs as it comes closer to you, because you want that, the other in the background. This could be rocks also, that's the way it's turning out. So we could make it rocky instead of shrubs. Like I said, you can't make a mistake, and you can make it up as you go along. And I forgot to mention that the pad that I'm working on is a caisson pad, and it's all glued down, and it's all kind of one piece. It's like a block. It's called a block. And it's really nice to work with because you don't have to have any loose papers. But if you don't get the block, then the paper that you use, you want to tape down on a piece of cardboard. And I do that sometimes also when I don't have the block that I'm working on. So let's take that out a little bit farther. So anyway, we're going to keep on keeping on. Okay, now I want to go in there because this is dried up a little bit. I'm happy for the studio lights because they dry it out. Now, I'm kind of going to make little squiggly lines there on the foreground or the background. And put some little tree things, you know, just some little stuff like that. So we're just kind of duplicating what we're putting in there. And we want more of an emphasis on the trees back there. Because we want it to look like a nice little island, because our ducks are going to be flying in. We're going to put ducks in there. And as a woman painter, we women, we get all hooked up in the animals and doing animals and sweet looking things and flowers. We forget about the guys in our lives. They like nice masculine looking paintings. So if you got a duck hunter or any kind of hunter in your home, then you can definitely put in the things that he likes to hunt in this picture. Doesn't have to be ducks, it could be deer, or some people even go for hunting pigs, which I think would be, those things are mean. Okay, I'm putting that island in here. Now I'm going to go back into the water, and I'm going to change brushes for the moment. I'm going to get a smaller brush, and I'm going to go back into my blue. And when I'm using brushes, I never put a dry brush in the paint. I will always put water on my brush and then go into my paint. Now I want this a little bit not too loose, not too much water in there, but I'm going to go along this little line here with the island, where I want the island. And I'm going to put darker blue up there to emphasize the edge of that island. And I'll bring some of that blue down into the water also. And sometimes you need to put more water in there to get it all together, because you're going to float it out. It's called floating the paint. the paint out. So there's lots of stuff to learn with watercolor. I meant to bring my color wheel also, and then I forgot it, so therefore, next time we meet, rather. So let's get this in here. Now, we got to think about the rest of our composition and what we're going to do with it. And put trees in, you know, the trees that all the winter has taken all the leaves off of it. And we got to think of where we're going to place those. So it's fun creating these pictures in watercolor. I just absolutely love doing watercolor. And by the way, watercolor is the hardest medium that you can ever work in. But if you start doing this kind of a picture with the floating of the water and everything like that, or floating the paint, I should say, in different spots, and you just kind of work on it, and you get lost in your picture of what you're doing. Okay. Now I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to go into some darker color here. But not real super dark, but I want some more stuff up here, like a more purpley look on the background, rather, I should say. I keep wanting to say foreground. I like working in the foreground. But it's pretty easy. You don't have to worry, but I think I'll put a little bit of color back in there, a little bit of red. That will kind of complement the blue and everything, and the purple that we've got in there, because we don't know what kind of land mass is back there, actually. So I'm going to make some little, like, weedy things back there with my brush, and it's kind of dry. Don't want it too wet. But we've got to have a reason for these ducks to land on this property here. And maybe they like color. Who knows? Okay. Let's think about where we're going to place our trees. Now, I'm going to my what's called a liner brush. And this brush is also, it's got long bristles on it and thin. Can you see it? And I also use it back here, and I use my fingers to switch and swatch around. Now I'm gonna get it wet, and it even gets more finer when you get it wet. But I want a kind of lot of water, and I'm going into my dark. I love this palette because I've got all this paint on here that's already mixed, so I don't have to mix it on the program. And it'll dry, and then I'll have it for next time. Now I'm thinking about where I want to put my my trees. Okay, we can put it right about here. So I'm going to go upside down like this, and I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to finally put in my trees and not try to push too hard. I just made a boo-boo, push too hard. So now I have to make the trunk bigger. So let's try that again. We need more. Try to not push too hard. And if you got a boo-boo like I've got, then you got to make the tree thicker. So we'll just work through this. Like I said, you can't make any mistakes at all. And let's take it up over the top. So I'm going to come down here and make this tree a little bit thicker at the trunk. And watercolor is done in layers. You work from the bottom of the canvas up, and you get some mighty fine pictures that way. So you just keep on rolling along here, making that winter tree. Make it dark enough, and then the water will flow. And it won't flow out of what you've done. So let's put some more branches on. The more branches you have, the better off you are. Because that's where the little bird stays, so we want to give him enough branches that he's happy with. Let's put some stuff down here that we can see. When this dries, I'll go back in, and we'll do that on the next program. We'll go in and we'll do what I call the funnest, most fun of watercolor work is the detail work, and I love detail. I absolutely love putting the details in. Okay, we need some more branches over here on this tree. And you can fill in wherever you want to. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of a touch, and you get a nice branch. And by holding your brush down like this, you keep the flow going downward as you're putting this together. But when we're putting all this in, we'll put details on it when we come back next time. Ah, fun. Just fun, fun, fun. And the trees, you know, they look dead, but they're not. Their leaves are just gone. Those are fun. They don't have to be straight either. They can be curved and everything else. Now I'm going to think about where I want my ducks flying in at. You never put an even amount of ducks or objects of life in your picture. It either has to be, well, you don't put one, or you can put one, but not two. You can put 3 up to 5 if you want to. So my ducks I want, let's see, we got them closer over here, so I'm going to put them on this side this time. So I'm just going to lay my brush down and put that in there like that, just like a V, and then push that one side together. And the smaller they are, the farther away they are. Let's give him a little bit of a body. But when we come back next time, we'll emphasize these ducks. Looks like they're flying off, so they could be leaving this happy little property here. So there's 4. I got to make at least one more. And I'm going to put another one up there. He's kind of the leader. Let's make him the leader. So therefore, when we come back, we're going to do our highlight, or not our highlights, but our detail work. And I think I'm going to make these rocks here, so we will phase those in with a lot of dark color. I'm running out of dark color on my palette. I had to make some more. So we're going to make these rocks. And we're going to make our light coming from the right side. So this is how I'm going to detail, give this tree trunk some bark and everything. So, but that's what we'll be doing next time. We'll make these some rocks, and we may put another bird or so over here, or a couple. But we'll use our imagination. But this is Art and Imagination with Janna. I'm so happy to be here. I hope you're happy to be watching and learning all about watercolor. So I'm hoping to see you next time. And remember, you can email me, which I appreciate your emails. And you can also watch me on YouTube. But we're here at Bella Vista Community TV Studio, and it's a great place to be with great people to work with. So I want to thank you for coming. So bye for now. Thanks for being with me today. I hope you've learned something from the lessons that I've been giving you. Just remember, if you can imagine it, you can draw it or paint it. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.